Guys, welcome back to this channel. Welcome back to Cryptocurrency Theory. I am Saddam Hussein, and today we are talking about some of the alternative ways on why I think crypto altcoins can go up with this potential launch to the ETF of BTC, right? That's what we want to look at. We want to talk about the Bitcoin ETF, and we want to see on how it really will affect altcoins in general. That's kind of my main thing here. And I guess it's appropriate, guys, to kind of give you a little background of how these ETFs works. Now, an exchange-traded fund is basically a fund that allows investors to invest in the fund with whatever function that fund is deriving its price from. So more simply, it just means it's giving the opportunity for investors to invest in a product, aka this exchange-traded fund, ETF, what have you, and that a fund has a specific function or derivative on where its price is derived from. So like we already have we don't have spot BTFs for Bitcoin yet, but we do have futures Bitcoin trading ETFs already been trading for almost 3 years now. So I guess it's appropriate to give you guys a little bit of a background on when the first Bitcoin ETF was actually launched. And that date is actually in Canada. So that's where we see the first Bitcoin ETF launched in Canada, February 18th, 2021. So what does this mean? Well, what this means is if we go back and we look at the price of Bitcoin, we look at kind of where this ETF started coming into play right about here, February. This is kind of when we were running up already. Like the cycle had already begun. And I don't want to go down the rabbit hole too far, but a lot of times, guys, the massive trading before these ETFs get launched to the average trader like me and you, the retail trader, they get launched to private clients. Get early access to this stuff to go ahead and pile in. And that might be what happened right here. And that might be why we kind of peaked and then we went down. But it's also very important to note that February 21st was the actual, just a reminder, I think I had that backwards right there. So February 21st was the actual reminder of when it was launched in Canada. It was by ProShares. And then we have this same ProShares Bitcoin Strategy ETF, futures ETF. Guys, remember this is tracking futures, right? Launched in October 19th, 2021. So, well, that's an interesting date. This was when that whole crypto.com and whole thing was going on with, the stadium is going to be named crypto.com and Bitcoin's going to change the world, and we were getting all these narratives about what was going on, but we were really already up in price. Like we were already, we'd already gone from like fucking 5,000 basically all the way up to 60,000. So here we are, October 10th. So yeah, October 19th. So if we look at the prices on where Bitcoin was at that time, we noticed that it was basically, again, right when this futures exchange ETF got launched, guys. So what does this mean? Well, we're trying to tie it back together. I don't have an exact answer for you right this second. We're trying to figure it out. But if we look at the correlation on when these Bitcoin futures ETFs were launched, well, here it is right here being launched in Canada. And about 2 months later, it dumped. And then right here, it launched in the US and it dumped even quicker. We went back down to 38K. From a top at I think about 60, I think we went a little above. I think we almost went to 70K on BTC Core. So what I'm trying to paint you the picture of, guys, is this spot ETF also might cause a different type scenario. We might not see a dump. We might actually see what we've already been kind of seeing, this anticipation of the ETF build up the price of Bitcoin a little bit. But also, guys, sidestepping some of these topics about just focusing on BTC Core. It's very, very, very important, guys. It's very, very important that we recognized how the anticipation of the narrative of the Bitcoin ETF had an effect on altcoins. Now, if you guys don't remember here, when we first started seeing the Bitcoin ETF back, and I think, we've been hearing about it off and on, but we started getting these heavily introduced news narratives without any actual confirmation that it's being launched. We've seen this back and forth thing for it seems like forever now. But it's very, very important to recognize, guys, that while these Bitcoin ETFs were indeed, being expressed to us that this is going to be the reason Bitcoin goes up, what did we see? We saw Bitcoin SV charge up ridiculously high, guys. We went almost up 100% as this narrative of, oh, it's finally coming, it's finally coming, it's finally here, it's going to be next week, it's going to be, right here in our face next week, and we're going to be able to watch our Bitcoin bags and our altcoin bags soar. Well, that really didn't happen, guys. We actually saw Bitcoin go down in that same time span, or somewhere right about here, guys. We'll just say kind of generally speaking, kind of in this highlighted area. And what did we see, guys? We saw Bitcoin SV barrel up. Now, I want to take us back to another point here that might be a little bit down the rabbit hole. Not gonna lie, these kind of alternative ways of looking at this stuff are a little bit out there, but we do like to look at it. And see, guys, this is when we were getting the narrative of like the EDX exchange, where we were getting like Bitcoin ETF coming, we were getting Hong Kong listing, exchanges coming to Hong Kong. And what did we see, guys? We saw Bitcoin Cash barrel up here. Now, I'm not really saying this is very indicative of directly on the Bitcoin ETF narrative push that we saw by like pretty much every news outlet in America. But what I am saying is, guys, is that it's interesting to note, very, very interesting to note, that each one of these altcoins, if you guys are new to crypto and you guys are just figuring out how crypto really operates, there is Bitcoin trading pairs on exchanges. Now it's on every exchange. You can trade for Tether to crypto. You can trade from BSV to Bitcoin and vice versa. But what's really interesting to note here, guys, is how are these altcoins going to behave if a spot trading Bitcoin ETF, if people are buying BTC in the future? How are these altcoins going to behave if this stuff is introduced? And what we're going to do now is just briefly, quickly go back to this just one coin I'm looking at, guys, Bitcoin SV. But there's other ones too, guys. This isn't the only one, but we're just looking at Bitcoin SV right this second on how it behaves against crypto. Well, wow, isn't that interesting? We're not up nearly as much from where we were at on dollars, but we are still up. We're up almost 50%. We hit almost 90% up on Bitcoin Core. And remember, guys, we're looking at the Bitcoin Core price, not US dollars, not to confuse anybody here. But what we saw, guys, is we saw a major increase in terms of the Bitcoin narrative pushing the entire market and a breakout on some of the altcoins, guys. And it might not look like a ton of breakout moments, but we were up 100%, 200% on Bitcoin Cash, and over 100% on Bitcoin Core. And probably one of the biggest fallouts, aka sweep ups, that we've seen in crypto. And what I mean by a fallout is, we go back a year prior, we saw nothing but collapse in the crypto markets. We saw Terra Luna, FTX unravel. We saw crypto prices bottom out. And then kind of in 2023, we started getting this narrative of Bitcoin ETF go up, price go up, Hong Kong exchange price go up, EDX price go up. But really, we saw a bottom out on Bitcoin Core. And then we saw a rise on some of my favorite altcoins, Bitcoin Cash, Bitcoin SV, Dash, Zcash. And FYI, guys, Zcash hit a 3-month high yesterday, kind of on a little side note, on Bitcoin Core, or I'm sorry, on dollars. I don't know about Bitcoin Core, but yeah, I mean, this is what we want to follow, guys. I'm very, very interested in seeing if the Bitcoin Core prices did indeed bottom out on this Bitcoin narrative against dollars. I think that's probably one of the most important things we need to keep an eye out on here, because if we do see a breakout on altcoins, we do see a breakout on some of these trends of Bitcoin price or altcoins against BTC price, we want to see a breakout on altcoins on BTC price with the introduction of the actual spot ETF. If that happens next week, if that happens in January of 2024, if it happens in 2025, because people are a little too optimistic, it doesn't really matter. But that's what we want to kind of keep an eye on, guys, on what's going on with these altcoin prices.